Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I'm excited to introduce you to our guest. Before I do that, here is a quote just for this episode. Rank does not confer privilege or give power, it imposes responsibility. Peter Drucker, our guest today, responsible citizen helping people with their home ownership needs, but even more so than that, general customers as an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, founding Beyond Business Virtual Assistants over 20 years in the real estate industry, helping well over 1,000 people achieve the American gift in one way or another, the American dream. They're a friend of the Culture Matters podcast because they've been recommended by numerous guests, the one and only Josh Buchter, our dear friend Mark Gatta, the Andy Kowalski team founder. Andy Kowalski, thanks for coming on the Culture Matters podcast and sharing some of your light with us today. I'm excited to dive into the awesome things that you're doing for brokers
Yeah,
and for agents and for business owners. So thanks for coming on, and
yeah. Thanks, Jay.
we're
Thanks for
meant to
having me. I
meet.
appreciate it. Yeah, yeah. It's exciting. I'm super grateful to be here, and it's just all of our stars are aligning with the people that we all know and we really connect with. It's so powerful, like the like-mindedness and the drive that we all have to not just succeed but to help and to give.
Mhm. Now you're in the business, what, 2, 3 years at least when the Great Recession, the global financial crisis was happening. How the
Yeah,
hell
I
did you get
was.
through that? Because a lot of realtors that are in the, professionals, sales professionals right now, they might have not experienced that, but they might feel like now is like that. But like, yeah, how
Yeah.
did you work through that time as a business owner?
Well, I'll tell you, it was way before social media too. It was right when it was starting, right? Social media started booming pretty much in '08, '09. And I started before that really not um, having any type of real mentor to guide me, even just business sense. I was 26, 20, yeah, 26 in the biz. And I knew what I wanted and I just started growing from there. And what I did was, I had two amazing years, '06, '07, more money that I knew what to do with in real estate, blowing up in Bucks County and in New Hope, Solbury, and all that. And I just most people were putting their money in the market because it was a hot market, right? I loved back in the day when I'm a kid, if I'm going back, DuckTales and Scrooge McDuck swimming in his big vault of gold coins. So that was my dream to have. I'm an antique safe collector, so I have a lot of old 1800 safes, and I wanted to fill them with gold bars. So that
Wow.
'06, '07, I stocked up on gold, and I was
Stop.
buying them, and I was buying them at 200, 300 an ounce.
Wow, that's
So,
good.
so I probably had 150,000 in gold bars that I literally had to over the recession hit in New Hope with us in 2010, 11, 12. So when all the pharmaceutical really stopped reloading everybody, we did a lot of relocation business. So I literally had to go to a pawn shop and start pawning my gold, which I've never done in my life. I would bring him like 20, 30 bars. And he's like, so what do you need? I go, I need like 10 grand or 20 grand this month and to continue on my marketing and my bills. And he's like, okay. And he goes, you know what it is an ounce? I said, no. He goes, 900 an ounce or 1,000 an ounce, 1,100 an ounce. And I was like, okay. He goes, what'd you buy him for? I'm like, between 200 and 300 an ounce. He's like, oh, well, you made out. He goes, well, here, you don't need all this. Just continue. Here's your money. And I'll take this gold. And that's how I lived for 2 or 3 years, going to a freaking pawn shop once a month. And I mean, I still did some business, but it was like
That's
three
amazing.
months or 6 months, and did a ton of short sales and foreclosures to really, you never knew if you were getting paid or not from the banks, all of that. So I had to do that, but thank God I didn't put the money in the market because I would have had nothing and I would have probably not been here in real estate today. So
Now, Yeah, what how did you stay mentally sound in that time to focus
Uh,
on selling and continue to service clients?
it was tough, man. It was tough, but I knew I had an asset. I had that gold to kind of help keep me going, hoping that the next day it would turn around or the news would break that we're out of the recession or all of a sudden like
Mm,
something was going to change. So as an entrepreneur in a mindset like that, like there's light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not failing. I'm not going to fail at this. Like this is what I want to do in life. This is where I'm meant to be. I got to fight through to the next day, to the next month, to the next year. And that's all my mindset was, just driven to succeed and to just keep plugging. And I had my backup of financial. So that helped. So it was really, because if I didn't, I'd be on the street. I'd lost my house just like everybody else and all that, it would have been, a bad time for everybody. So yeah, it just was like, it was meant to be, and I didn't know what I didn't know then. So I didn't know that when the recession ends, the market drops, the commodities go up. I didn't know that, and there was no
mm,
crypto kind of back then. It just started right in '09 with Bitcoin, and I had tons of Bitcoin because I was building sites on the side, websites on the side, templated sites that I was paying these Canadians Bitcoins that I didn't even know. And I probably still had some in my wallet that I already got rid of that laptop a long time ago. So who knows where that is, you know?
being that, gold is 3,000 an ounce, do you ever get upset thinking about that?
No, it got me to this point, and I can't worry about that. And I just got to keep moving forward because there's crypto that's helped me a few years
Wow.
back boost more to fight through the past 3.5, 4 years of this pandemic and this inflation and this craziness that we've been dealing with. So it's helped. That's helped, and just keep going, man. I keep going, and now it's the 3 years ago when I start 2.5 years ago I started Beyond Business Virtual Assistants. That's where I wanted to diversify, and I knew I had something that I hired other agencies that didn't help me
Mm,
where I thought they were going to support me and help me work with these VAs. And they didn't show me how to work with them. They didn't give me any support. I paid one 12 grand. I paid another $8,000, 8,500 bucks. And they didn't support me. They didn't even tell me how to talk and communicate with the virtual assistants. And I'm like, I paid you all this money. What the hell? So there was an opportunity there. Instead of getting upset and depressed that I didn't have what I wanted or paid for what I got, I
mm,
turned it into an opportunity to say, I can give better service. We can do better as humans to help each other. So, me being in the real estate business, my first opportunity was my colleagues helping them get virtual assistants. They're like, well, I don't know how to pay. I don't know. Over 6 months' time, I've done it. I've created SOPs, KPIs for them, ran pretty much a very tight ship on my real estate team. So, to grow that, I ended up they saw that, and I literally just gave them more VAs. I helped them hire and train and showed them the ropes, and they're like, you should start this business. I'm like, well, I kind of did just now. So my real estate tagline was we go beyond business.
mm.
So that's where now it's called Beyond Business Virtual Assistants. So and and
Some common mistakes our listeners might make when looking to retain a virtual assistant. What are some common mistakes you see people make when
um,
trying to actually bring
just
that on?
jumping the gun, not asking the right questions, and a lot of us we just don't know what the questions are to ask, you know, and it's really, how can you support me after I pay you money? How do I talk to them? How do I communicate? What is the roadmap look like for us and your company and the VA? What does that all look like? Because it is important. Like, do you have a guarantee? What if this VA doesn't work? I pay you all this money and the VA doesn't work or doesn't show up. You just take my money and run. Well, we have a 60-day guarantee, and usually within the first 2 to 3 weeks, we'll know if they work out or not, if they're going to mesh. So we give a 60-day because it's a longer, feel more comfortable.
What happened to assistants? Right, there's a dichotomy of assistants,
The assistants
virtual
in here
assistant.
in
Yeah, like my
well, the
virtual
pandemic
girlfriend.
was a big push, right?
What
The
happened?
pandemic,
Okay,
yeah, the pandemic was a major player in this, in the whole push to
really?
be everybody remote,
Hmm.
everybody worked from home, everybody did this. Well, then that was a big push for the virtual assistant agencies, and people were scared to go to work. They were scared to go to the office or scared to be face to face with people, and it was like it was really just everybody's scared. We got our whole world got scared over COVID, and it is what it is. But you just kind of it really kind of spiraled from there to now. It's going to be probably going to be a $100 billion industry within the next couple of years, if it's not already. 100 billion, not million, $1 billion industry. And now AI too, where you still need somebody, but you don't want to pay a full-time in-house person to kind of help you with your AI. So you hire a virtual assistant to work with your AI. And now it's very, very inexpensive. And what AI is doing, I mean, a lot of our virtual assistants are tapped into AI, how to use ChatGPT, how to navigate and get you what you need done a lot quicker. So now your VAs become that much more efficient. They can do a lot more in an 8 hours or 4 hour period. And it just makes life a lot simpler and easier.
How much more affordable is it to partner with a virtual assistant versus a physical?
So I had a director of operations when I was with Compass my first year in 2020, 2021, and her salary was 75,000 a year with 3 weeks vacation, all this time, blah, 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 all this stuff, cell phone paying, gas here and there. And so to a virtual assistant of same thing, 40 hours a week, the same skill set, or if not better, they're just not physically here. The salary is between 10 and 15,000 a year.
So that's 10 to 15, 5 to 7 and a half, 600 something percent
60,
on average
yeah, $60,000
decrease.
savings a year.
Now, yeah, what can one do with that in a small business?
A lot of us, so a lot of the realtors will use them for transaction coordination, for social media management. Social media, what everybody doesn't know is really, it's all about consistency, posting daily, bringing content that's value, right? Value adds. So content creation, video editing nowadays with shorts, reels, and stories, bringing that on too is huge, and I do 64 videos a week, between two companies that, I don't have time to edit all that and do all that. And that's really, you know, I have two full-time video editors that handle all of that. My social media managers, we have four in both companies total that do all of content creation, do all my posts, scheduling, and making sure we're up in the news and we're up with the times with everything. So, your social media managers, and we get them from Google, we get them from Meta, like where they know the algorithms, they know ad placement, they know PPC, SEO, which is huge today. You want to build your own brand, your own business, your own all that stuff. Like the social media managers too, they build your brand Bible, we call it. So what your tagline, your logo, your fonts, your colors of your business, whatever, they build all that for you. As realtors, we don't think of that. We just think, oh, we have our brokerage, Compass, Berkshire, whatever, KW, and that's it. Like we don't think of us as our own business, which we are. We should run it like our own business. We're a 1099. We should have a logo. We should have QuickBooks. We should have our core values, our mission, our vision. What is that? And when I was first asked that from my first social media manager that I hired, she
Mm.
said, "What's your? Do we have a brand Bible?" I said, What is that? I don't even know what that is. She's like, oh, it's all of your logos, all your styles. What does that look like to keep your brand consistent from to all the platforms? I was like, oh no, I don't have that. I have this logo, that, this here. She goes, okay, what are your core values? I'm like, I have core values here. I don't have it for my business. She's like, well, what are they? Because that you are your business, so let's put it out there and attract that those people that love what who you are and what you stand for. I was like, wow, that's interesting. Never thought of that. So that's kind of,
What
you
are they?
know, uh, character, the reputation of of what we do every day in and day out of delivering, you know, um, high level service, and just creating opportunity for people. Real estate wise, it's really connecting buyers and sellers with together and making matchmaking, and it's one of our biggest investments of our life, and taking them through and educating them through that process, and understanding it. And a lot of people are savvy today with the internet and everything, but really walking them through and protecting their interest at all times. That's what it's about. It's not about me getting a commission. That's the end result after I do what I have to do, and that's be ethical. That's bringing, you know my who I am to the table and protecting their highest interest, the biggest investment of their life. This purchase or this sale. You know, so that's really the main part of our core values. And our mission and vision. It's really that's so important to have as a business, and for employees. If you had a team, a real estate team, or if you had your virtual assistant team, knowing where you want to go in your business. Here's the
Hmm.
vision, you know, and this is how we're going to get there with our core values and our mission.
You've been with Berkshire, Weidel, KW, a whole host of these companies. How do they
Everybody.
undermine? Yeah, so what are some things that these these institutions that house these independent business owners, what are some things that these institutions do to undermine the culture, to undermine the realtor, whether they realize it or
Uh,
not?
yeah, they try and feel like their brand is the most important, which licensing wise it is. We have to kind of you know bow down to their if our license is with a broker as a realtor. We need to kind of follow their rules and not bow down, but follow their rules. And they're the umbrella. They're the umbrella company, the broker. As realtors, we have that sub umbrella, that smaller umbrella, but it's not, they, before the recession, I'll tell you, they brought a lot of value as brokerages because they helped advertise your listings. They helped generate leads for you. They gave you a lot more to help you sell your stuff. After the recession of '08 through 2012, they cut all that off, and they just thought that their name and their brand was good enough to take half or 25% or 10% of your commission every time without giving you other value besides an office or this or that. I mean, I've had a very large office with a wet bar at one point. I've had small little cubicles. I've had it all, and I don't need an office today. Today, the past 10 years, I didn't need an office. I wherever I work, my phone. I'm in the car now from one appointment to another. Like
Mm.
that's how it's about. So
So the tangible things have become less valuable over
yeah,
time, and those in the bigger brands haven't necessarily reinvested into the things that are valuable to the actual realtor.
yeah, and they're just trying like
Powerful.
not to say any brokerages names pointing them out, but a lot of them consider themselves not a real estate company, but a marketing company. And that's fine. That's great. But and they try and get as many agents, licensees, because it's a numbers game. And if they're
Well,
all
that's
selling
really
one or two, you
yeah.
know,
That's
but they're
terrible in
showing them
times like this
absolutely.
where there's no
So
inventory and
it really is tough. So, but you build a good referral network. You do good by people. They refer you. They like what you stand for and how you do business. And you know, I have a lot of realtors that just oh God, I got to deal with Andy. Like, because I listen, I'm a tough negotiator. Like that's what I do for my clients. I know. Look, if you're a realtor on the other side of me, we could be buds out of it, but I'm a total nut craziness when it comes to negotiating for my clients because it's not about me. It's not about that other realtor. It's about my client getting the deal that they want. And really, in all fairness, making the deal happen without hurting relationships and or making the seller angry or vice versa. If I have the seller, educating the agent on where my seller is and they're not budging. This is how it is. Like make it or break it and do your job now. Let's partner up. Let's make this happen. I'm really a stickler with that and really being transparent and real. Like a lot of agents are like, man, like this is just, why aren't you giving? I'm like, I gave you the transparency of this is what it is. Stick to this number and we'll make it happen. Like I can't be any more clear. There is no more back and forth. Like here we are. So yeah, it's I just gotta be I got to go at the end of the day when I go home to my 4 year old and my 2 year old and my wife, know that I've excelled and I've protected my clients. I've protected my character, my reputation, as more so my character, not my reputation, because I don't really care what other people think. It's more about did I do right in my world that day, and
Why is that
that's
important to you?
because I want to lead. I have two little kids looking up to me, and I want to show them that do good out there and it's going to come back. It's going to not even just worrying about coming back, but just it's laying a great foundation for my little ones to kind of lead by, and even before that, I just felt like God forbid something happens to me. I know I left, hopefully I left this world and people that I touched in a little better place. And that's what it comes down to.
Mm.
So
What do you see out there as it relates to uh, the movement in the markets?
it's very volatile. I feel like right now, even with, you know, a lot of the noise outside, a lot of the media, no matter what station you listen to, if you're red or blue, it doesn't matter. There's so much noise, which causes a lot of volatility in the markets. The news and everybody is really saying the Philadelphia region market is supposed to be one of the hottest this year. So for sellers, and that means hopefully they'll be selling and there's going to be the buyers will have a chance to buy. I'm hoping rates come down a little bit. They're not going to be like 5 years ago or 3 years ago at 3% and all that, but even if they get into the fives, high fives, it's going to help sellers make that decision that, okay, you know what, I can take that type
What are
of
you
hit.
hearing from sellers now?
They don't want to move. Why should they move? Why have a 6, 7% interest rate, when they don't need to? They have a three, they have a 2.6, or 3.5. Why would they want to move? They don't need to, unless it's an estate or a divorce, which I handle a lot of, just dealt with one. It's really it's people are like, I don't need to. And yeah, I can get double the equity out of my house today, but I'm going to go buy something that's also twice as much that I could have paid for 5 years ago, 3 years ago, which is true. But it's really life events that are going to really cause a lot more.
Mm.
And rates, when rates drop more, if they get into the fives, I feel there's going to be a lot more sellers making that jump.
What if they don't? What do you think will happen?
I think we're going to be it's going to be a tough market. It's going to be kind of just like a even keeled, not a normal market, not a big spring. We'll probably have a little bit more houses in the spring, maybe in the fall. No one really knows because, we have wars we're trying to put out. We have all this other stuff going on, all this craziness in our world and noise, I call it just noise. And I even turned off all the news. I used to be every day, I got to know what's going on to make sure what's my business, how my business is going to be affected. It got so stressful and my
Mm.
anxiety and everything. I was just like, I'm done with the news. I'm done with all of them. I don't need to hear it. I don't need to see it. And that's it. And I just got to live my life, like, protecting my family and everything that we're building and doing. And that's it, man. And, but the
What
virtual
about what do you
assistant world,
see? Yeah, what do you see happening that or what could that do to the agents that are in the first few years of the business?
well, they're going to either, fall out, get a second job, which a lot are already.
Oh, you see
Um,
that? You're seeing that?
yeah, the past year, I mean, I've noticed a lot of agents like going back to their previous jobs, or like, oh, I need to pick up part time. I'm serving, I'm bartending, I'm cutting lawns, like, and I'm not available until after 5 to show you that property because I have a full time gig or what. And you're like, well, put a lockbox or have somebody else partner with you so you can still work and the home can get sold, or get rented,
Wow,
you know.
that's happening, huh? A lot.
Yeah, yeah. The past year, it's really been, I'd say, maybe even a year and a half, 2 years. It's been really, the market's just changed that much. The inflation talks, the crazy, the media. I mean, it's all media driven. So it's scare. It's a scare tactic, and people get scared. They hear that. They're like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do anything. Election year is always down 20% automatically. People are afraid to move their money in the market.
It's interesting. I want to, depending on how much percentage of realtors of those big numbers are doing that, if those fees they're paying to some of those bigger brands become less and less exciting to pay, if they're not even
Oh yeah,
doing two deals a year or one deal a year. And I wonder what impact that could have financially on some of those bigger brands. How many, in the next 2 or 3 years, how many won't even be around?
yeah, or be sold or merged, right? I mean,
Sold, merged, recapitalized by private investments.
yep.
What's it being a part of a smaller brand, is I guess what do you think? What do you see the opportunity? Is it a David and Goliath
Uh,
scenario?
I've been with a lot of big brands and a few small brands, and I'll choose a small brand, all local brand every day of the week because um, and I'm talking from 21 years of experience. So 21 years, I've built my book of business. I built my referrals. I built that. So I don't need to pay a big brand for their brand anymore,
Mm.
and I moved from a small brand out of Warrington to a big brand in Compass because really they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. That's all. That's all. So, and then from
You,
there,
you
I'm
brought up
I'm
something
at
very
Oakerstown.
interesting. 21 years, built your book of business. Don't need their brand for your customers. Well, of course not, right? Because you're instantiated in the market. That makes a lot of sense. Why would those big brands be good in the past? Well, if somebody wanted to move from selling houses to recruiting people to sell houses, the big
Yeah,
brand might empower them to do that. But
right.
if the inventory is
Other
not there,
residuals, other
yeah, which
residual
yeah,
opportunities.
yeah, which becomes time like this because that only works as long as there's product, which is the human capital. As a
Right.
consequence, there being inventory. So now you as in the archetype of a decades long tenured, successful professional, the big brand doesn't, you don't need them for the customer, but you'd want them for the recruiting. But if the
Yeah.
recruiting's drying up because there's less human capital, it's very fascinating, interesting from a business context,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of those
Yeah.
big realtors, they just became anchors for more profits to come from new realtors
It.
to come into those bigger brands. They
That's it.
stopped selling houses and they became marketers.
Recruiters,
Yeah,
marketers, and
100%.
recruiters.
Which
And you're like,
destroys their customer relationships over time. There's a
exactly.
hidden
It,
hidden cost to
it,
that.
it
Did you
kind of
notice that
keeps
in
now.
your career?
Absolutely. It separates them more every day that goes by from their customers, their normal book of business, because they're focusing on recruiting and marketing and trying to build their downline to get residuals. And they are losing their opportunities of staying in touch with their clients, you know?
Yeah, it's like when a business, an organization, nor any business starts spending, let's say hire, goes into a growth phase and starts hiring a bunch of heavy staff, but isn't reinvesting in the customers, reinvesting in the R&D
Yeah,
anymore.
that's it. Yeah,
Becomes and the
that's
CEO
exactly
becomes
right.
kind of in an ivory tower, doesn't know their
And
customer
it's
anymore.
golden
That's happening at
parachutes and all.
scale.
Yeah,
That's happening
Gary
at
Keller
scale.
just sold out too, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh,
So,
100%. Yeah.
I mean, he sees the writing on the wall. He
Yeah.
saw it and he needed to, not that he was a young guy, but, it was time. And he's like, hey, what am I going to do?
Yeah, so does that
You know,
excite you about the next 10 years in real estate, especially with your if you have a virtual
it's,
assistant business which solves big economic problems, if the margins are
yeah,
thinning in all these people's businesses and you can give them an assistant for a fifth or
yeah,
sixth of the price.
yeah. And that's really the goal, like, is really to help people like you, you could get in with and support or help lead gen or help cold calling and, your social media marketing to drive, you know, more business your way with your character, with your business platform, and at a lower cost. And you could save more, especially if you're at a smaller brokerage where you get more of the pie and you don't have a lot of the overhead, a lot of the fees and stuff like that. A lot of them charge a 6% franchise fee too, the bigger brands. And if they aren't already, they are now. Like they will be. So Opus Elite, been as I call it, dating or talking with Mark Gada for a year now, and he's like, how many more times I got to take you out to dinner? I go, you haven't taken me out once yet, And he's so, but no, it was
He's a great
really
guy.
interesting. A great guy, and Volcon as well, So they, I just needed to do it at my time and my zone to do that. So, um, and so now, I want to help them grow. I want to help them build their brokerage, not to a Compass or a Berkshire level, but to a nice big level like that is so amazing because they deliver so much value to the community, especially their Opus Outreach Foundation. You know, they all have it, Fox and Roach Charities or Berkshire Charity, all this, but getting a smaller community to support somebody that lost their house in a fire or this or that means more than just paying part of your commission to a big brokerage and this and that you never know what they're doing with the money, so it's like, what do you do, and
Yeah.
it's like just helping and just figuring that out. It's really more so the smaller is just so much better. I feel so good about it.
What advice do you have for our listeners that are in the real estate profession on how to um, show client appreciation or tap in, refocus that maybe they've got caught up in the hoopla over the last few years?
Yeah, it's just making sure you have a good CRM, making sure you're not tied in with the large broker of, their CRM, and you're going to lose all your client database. From the very beginning, I've always had my own. I never used the company email. If I did, I had it all forwarded to my Gmail. And I had my own CRM. I have my own um, zip forms or DocuSign or dot loop account so that wherever I go, I have all of my clients. They have my Gmail or they have my Andy, AK at AndyKowalskiTeam.com. So there's never a chance of them email going to the company and not me, So protecting my client base is so big and so important because that's my business, right? That's what I built over the years.
Mm.
The company didn't build that. I built that. So those relationships are so important to me that I don't want to lose them. And that's something that every realtor should 100% do and get down on is have your own CRM. A lot of them are free trials or $100 a month or whatever. It's worth it. And getting a VA to help you. Like that is huge. It
Stay
sounds
in touch.
overwhelming. It sounds anxious and stressful to figure out how to work a VA or pay for the VA, telling you, these VAs for 500 or 800 or 1,000 a month for 40 hours a week, you know, is huge. Is huge. It's game changer, game changer.
How do you
And
stay in touch with your database?
through my CRM. So setting up action plans, drip campaigns, getting them to give me reviews and just not blasting them all the time, you know, monthly newsletters, you know, that we have, getting them connected with my social media, you know, so they get to see my YouTube videos and us bringing value of the market or, you know, what to do. Even realtors, I have realtor content on there too to help new realtors learn, you know, mistakes that I made or that I went through that I failed 100 times over before I could do anything, you know? So all of that, just connecting with them. My VAs will put reminders on my phones. Don't forget to call so and so. It's their 1 year anniversary in their home or this or that. Birthdays. We send out birthday emails. Everything. It's just those little tidbits. Thanksgiving, we dropped off. I think it was over 100 apple pies, pumpkin pies over Thanksgiving to our most recent clients, you know, the past 2, 3 years, you know, and just doing that, having client appreciation events, you know, a barbecue in the summer or a Christmas party, holiday party in the winter, you know, it's so important. And the VAs will help me with that. They help lay it all out, cost, budget, tell me what we need to do, where do I need to be, you know, my schedule, my calendar is so clean and organized for the past 3.5, 4 years that I've had virtual assistants.
Hmm.
Um, and on track and on point. You know, if I can't make it because of emergency or another client I'm talking to longer, they already know that I'm going to be late and they're reaching out to the next appointment saying, hey, I'm going to be 5, 10 minutes late.
What do you think about podcasts?
This is my third one, so I'm excited. Actually, yeah, my third one, so I'm excited, and I love podcasts. So to sooner or later, I'm sure I'll have one for maybe entrepreneurs or realtors. I don't know, but I love it. I love the opportunity to reach out to more bigger audiences too. You know,
When did you start putting out content?
3 years ago, 2 years ago. So
Why?
a lot of content.
Why'd you start?
Um, because I wanted to give. I wanted to tell people, you know, my story or my, you know, the failures to why I am who I am today or where I came from to where I am today. You know, like what got me there? What was the fight? Every failure is a fight in my head and to keep going, fighting out of that setback, you know? Like Mike the situation always says, you're the comeback's always greater than the setback, right? I mean, it's so true. So true, you know, like you just kind of that's what that's what I do. I mean, like it's always, yeah, do I take a little step back and take a breather and you know, lick my wounds? Absolutely. But I don't let it take over my life for months or years. It's literally days, a day, or maybe a week or 2 weeks. And that is it. Like I can't, there's no time to waste. We don't get those minutes back, you know? Those are wasted minutes of just feeling sorry for myself. No way. I don't need that. Let's go. Let's go. Let's grow. That's my motto.
Why not? Why not feel sorry?
Yes. I made those decisions. I made those decisions. I I chose to do that or this and make that happen or not make it happen. And that's it. So I own it. I own every single action I do. And I just listen, I'm gonna sit there and just punch myself in the face all for weeks or years. No. Get up, go. Stop. Wake up. Let's go.
Hmm. Do you have a if do you have a word for 2025, or if you don't, what would it be?
This year, probably this year is gonna be um, growth.
Why?
Growth. There was a lot of stagnant, just blah the past 5 years, 4 years, and you're just like, there was no growth. You were just kind of like, what's going on? Where are we at? What's going on? We're up, down, up, down. And this year, it's all growth. We're 100% growing. Only way is up.
Mm.
So
Amen.
yeah,
Andy, it's been an honor to have you on the show. Shout out to Josh Buchter introducing us, the one and only Mark Gatta, for being in our lives.
you
It's great
got it.
to
Thanks,
have you for
Jay.
the
Thanks for
friends
having me.
friends of the Culture Matters podcast. I'm excited to see the growth in 2025 and beyond. If you're listening to this, where can people follow you on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook? Where
Uh,
get
Andy
connected with you?
Kowalski team at Andy Kowalski team or at Beyond Biz VA, beyondbizva.com or andykowalskiteam.com. And that's it.
If
I'm
you're
sure there's
listening,
other places.
share this with a friend, especially somebody in the real estate business that needs some pep in their step. Leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast, and we will see you next time. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.